Good morning, Year 10. I'm going to talk to you about IVF, and then I'm going to get you to do the task that is attached. Now, first of all, IVF stands for in vitro fertilization. It means fertilization taking place outside the body. In vitro is Latin for in the glass. So it'll take place in a test tube or more likely in a petri dish. So I'm going to talk to you about that today. Now, the reason that females will probably undergo IVF is because they are infertile for many different reasons. Perhaps the fallopian tubes are blocked, or perhaps they don't release enough of the fertility hormones themselves, such as FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormone. So therefore, the follicles that contain the eggs will never grow, they'll never mature, and therefore the eggs will never grow and never mature either. Or maybe they have a very low egg count. Lots of different reasons. Now, how do we start IVF? Well, the first process will normally be the woman taking a drug that will block her own fertility hormones. Now, the reason that this will happen is because we do not want her hormones to get in the way and mess up this process. So that's why stage one will be to take a drug that would prevent temporarily her own fertility hormones being released by the pituitary gland. Once that takes place, the second stage would be to inject what we call fertility drugs into the female. Now, the fertility drugs would probably include artificial FSH and artificial LH. Remember, when we looked at these hormones, try and think what FSH and LH actually do. FSH, if you remember, will cause the follicles to grow and to become mature. And remember, the eggs are found inside the follicles. So if the follicles are growing, then the eggs inside are going to grow as well, and therefore they're going to become mature. And remember, LH is going to cause those eggs to be released from the ovary. So by injecting artificial FH and LH into the female, i.e. a fertility drug, then it's going to cause lots of eggs to become mature and to be released by the ovaries. These eggs can then be collected carefully by using a suction technique and then taken to the fertility clinic or the lab. So there they are, you can see them in a petri dish. What we need to do now is we need to obviously get a sample from the male. It's very easy. The male will ejaculate into a pot or a vial, and then that would be taken to the same fertility clinic where they can then be mixed and hopefully fertilization will take place. So that's one way. There is another way where they can actually select one sperm and carefully remove the nucleus from the sperm and inject it into the cytoplasm of the egg. So therefore you obviously have fertilization with the two nuclei coming together. But on this screen we can see obviously the sperm and the egg are just being mixed, and fertilization is going to happen that way. Once fertilization has taken place, then obviously the fertilized egg cell will grow into an embryo. Now, you can test that embryo to see if it has any certain genetic diseases. We call that embryo screening, and some couples who perhaps are susceptible to genetic diseases, but you'll learn more about this in year 11, but then like I said, couples who are susceptible to genetic diseases can have their embryo screened, and then obviously they can discard the ones that contain the disease and then only implant those ones that are healthy. So the last stage then is to implant those healthy embryos into the female's uterus. Now, this is a bit hit and miss. The success rate is not that high. So what some couples will do is they might have 2, 3, 4 or 5 eggs implanted in the uterus in the hope that one will properly implant and therefore grow into a fetus, and then a newborn baby will arrive a little bit later. But these days we only tend to implant one embryo, because if you can imagine, let's say you do implant 5 and all 5 do take hold and start growing, then you're going to have 5 newborn babies, which is going to be probably quite dangerous for the developing fetuses inside, It's going to be quite dangerous for the mother when obviously she's given birth, and also it will be a financial burden to the couple during their lifetime as well. So it's a conversation that they will have, and then the doctor and the couple will decide the best course of action and how many to actually implant into the uterus. But anyway, after the gestation period, and as long as IVF has been successful, then you will have a newborn baby. But as you can see there, it says that IVF is successful in over a quarter of women aged under 35, so it's not a huge success rate, but only about 10% of women are successful if they're between the ages of 40 and 42. It's very costly, costs about £3,000 to get IVF done. Sometimes the NHS will pay for it, other times they would not. It all depends on lots of different factors, but that's something that I'd like you to go and have a look at. So what I'd like you to do now is have a look at the task that is attached to this and enjoy.